Welcome back to Big Brave Business. I'm your host, Sarah K. Heater. Big Brave Business is a podcast where we challenge the status quo of traditional business practices. So if you're ready to challenge norms, rewrite the rules, and redefine what it means to lead with courage and integrity, then grab a notebook and let's dive in. Welcome back to Big Brave Business. I'm here with a brand new friend, Diem Koole. And Diem is a dynamic mompreneur, passionate about balancing motherhood, creativity, and entrepreneurship. As the voice behind the Koole Mom blog and the upcoming podcast, Coffee, Kids, and Koole, she blends her love for parenting, Vietnamese culture, and wellness into relatable and inspiring content. When she's not crafting recipes, sharing family travel tips, or building her digital brand, Diem enjoys yoga, exploring new ideas, and creating meaningful connections with her audience. Welcome to Big Brave Business, Diem.
Hi, Sarah, and hi, everyone.
I'm excited to talk to you because this is a really different kind of business focus or like brand identity than anybody that I've talked to on Big Brave Business so far. So most of the people that I've brought on are either some kind of like coaching, consulting, or service provider. And this is totally different because it's more of like a lifestyle brand. So I'm curious to know. Well, and I guess I should also add, we were just talking about this, also instant connection with you because of your layoff story. And there's just so many things that we can relate. Of course, you're coming off super fresh. So just like a year away from that having happened, but congratulations on it being in your rearview mirror for a year. Like we are moving on. Let's talk about I want to hear first, I guess, in the midst of like the grief and the chaos and the devastation and the applying to jobs and nothing really is a good fit. Where did you come up with your blog and your podcast? How did you decide on going that direction?
Yeah, I would love to share about my idea on how my blog has come about with everyone. So I started love cooking. I'm not a chef or anything, but I love cooking. And I had a really hard time to find a good recipe. Either I had to watch it in Vietnamese, watch a YouTube in Vietnamese to find like really authentic recipes, or I had to mix and match, right? And I don't want to spend money. I'm not a spender. Now with inflation, when we go out and want good food, we go to the Vietnamese. I'm Vietnamese, by the way. So I go to Vietnamese restaurant to order a bowl of pho, and it cost me $17. And then the quality like so bleh. And then I got so mad. I say, I can't believe they sell to me $17 with like barely nothing in it. I love cooking. So with my blog, I want to share my really authentic Vietnamese recipe and share with people. And that's and in English, right? Like if you like, I have a lot of friends come to me and say, "How do you make this? It tastes so good. How you make this?" And I say, if enough people come to me for the same question, I need to start something. So that's what my blog is about, the recipe sharing. And more than just recipes, I want to share. This is my place, my safe spot for me to share about myself, my own story, upbringing stories that I have a family, my mom and dad. I grew up in Vietnam, and since I became a mom, I have a lot to share to other people because, of course, grew up in Vietnam, and I have the parenting tips or tips and not parenting stories of myself. But totally opposite, different, I could say, than American way. So, but being an immigrant for me to like merge the best thing, right? I don't certainly like agree totally with my parents. If you read my blog, I say that my parents were brutal, and with American parents is so have so much leeway, and I don't want both. I want to merge whichever is the best for my own children. I merge from Vietnamese culture to and a Western culture together and have my best methods for my own children. So my blog is about recipes and parenting tips and travel. So I pick up a lot of traveling tips, like how to travel with young kids, yeah, things like that. It's been really fun. Definitely really busy of doing this work, but totally love it. And I love every single moment that I sit down and write about what I want to post for everybody to read it.
There's so much that I love about this. One
Mm,
thing is that this, I can tell watching your face and listening to you talk about this, how much of a source of joy this is for you. And I know we were just talking before we hit record about the like pure emotional devastation of losing your job last year. And so I feel like having this outlet to really spend your time on focusing on the things that are most important, really, and the things that bring you joy and connection and not, excuse my language, but not all the bullshit of
mhm,
like a corporate job. And I think that's really beautiful. And also, you had mentioned to me before we even got on this call that one of the things you were going through as you were like applying to jobs and putting yourself out
mhm,
there last year, that there were things you were maybe insecure about being Vietnamese and having an accent. And is that the reason why things aren't working out? Is that are they going to like you? Are they going to want you around? And it sounds like this brand that you're building is a chance for you to embrace all those things about yourself and share all of those things that make you you uniquely and interestingly you,
mhm.
and to be able to share that with other people, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's not, has not been easy per se, right? Because I was a high achiever. So I came to the United States in 2020 2013. So just 4 days ago, it marked like 12 years here. And I know what I want. So I mentioned earlier that during 2.5 years at the company that I previously worked with, I led 5 different teams. And I always said, if somebody asked me, like my boss said, do you want to lead another team? I said, of course, yes. And I do it. I show it to them like I'm capable of doing things. So when I got laid off, it's just so hard. It just like it hit on my face that they let me go. Really, how dare they? And I put myself out there to apply for a job. I didn't think like I got the news. I never stopped working, Sarah. I never stopped. I took the hardest route to get what I want. And but being it was 4 or 5 months that I got like tons of calls, tons of interviews, and I end up getting nothing. It was terrible. And I say, I know that I want to do, but about my blog, I know that I want to do the recipe. I want to do my blog. I want to build my brain. But that means that it also means that I'm not making money. I know that I I I I listened to your podcast. I said the myth about making money, being a entrepreneur is it's just a myth. I totally agree with that, but it's just so hard for me as a person who's going through it. I want money, right? Because I've been like I make money before. I was a money machine. So now if I started my blog, I didn't, it doesn't mean like I had to build my client or whatever. I don't have any product or like service like as of now. But it's just so hard for me to wrap my head around that I'm not making any money. So I don't have any income. So it was hard.
Yeah,
It's still hard.
that's really hard. So
Yeah.
when it comes to making money, what are you
Mhm.
thinking? Like, what are your hopes, plans, goals for how to make this monetized?
This is a really good question. I've been thinking of that every single day. The way a business works is you have to resolve resolve a customer's pain point, right? Like what I want to do, what can I resolve? The the client's pain point. So for me, I love working with children. I love working with I want to focus on single mom, like low income moms, right? Like being a mom, and then I talked with like tons of working moms out there. Everyone had the same struggle, either with like balancing life, work life, and daycare balance, right? With all of that, and what can I provide to them? So I want to find something that meaningful to me and I love doing. So right now I know my clients or children and low income moms, but I don't know how it's like. Well, Sarah, you have to help me here because I know my client, I know my audience, but I'm still thinking of the products or the service that I want to provide to them and like affordable charge them. I don't want to charge them like $50 an hour. I won't want that. Like to be honest with you, I want to enjoy my work, do something with my children or for other childrens and because I would like if I was rich, I'd say like you come in and I to take donation.
Well, that is an option, is like a pay what you feel like you can. A lot of people
Hmm.
do have offers like that where you're offering the service because it's something that you believe people have a right to the information and you want to
Hmm.
be supportive and accessible. And then, yeah. And then the other thing that kind of comes to mind is like sponsorships and ads, like having ad space on your blog or having a sponsored post. Same with the podcast. That would be definitely a good method where instead of charging the people who are consuming your content, you're
Hmm.
charging people who want access to that audience. So you provide value to the audience. That's why the audience comes to you. And then that number grows. And then there are people who have something to offer that audience. People are trying to sell to families all the time, right? So
Hmm.
if that's who is coming to your blog, then those different brands would want to reach you. There's a lot of like events, conferences, things like that for bloggers. And of course, for podcasters, we were just talking about that. And from a
Hmm.
podcast perspective, like that's more my world. That's more what I know. But I do have a good friend from college who started a blog, monetized it. Of course, this was years ago, but I know she used to go to a lot of like conferences and things with other bloggers. And although people like to say blogging is kind of like an older online method now, it's
Hmm.
still completely prevalent. That's a large source of where people are getting their information on the internet. So I think there's
Right.
a lot of room for that to monetize your content from the platform it's on rather than having people necessarily pay you for support. But I think there's a lot of opportunity here as far as like solving a problem too, not only like your own stories and then lessons learned for parenting, but also
Hmm.
specifically, you've talked about recipes quite a lot. And especially bringing to an American audience some low cost, like Vietnamese options that are robust and totally different from what they're going to get at a
Yeah.
restaurant, right? Like you were saying.
Right.
So I think there's a big opportunity. I know in my family, that's been something that's been a recurring theme. And I know so many people say it where it's like, we cook the same things every week,
Hmm.
right? Like week over week over week, we make the same cup, like the same recipes in rotation and we get bored and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to make? And that for a non-Vietnamese family would be really fun to be able to
Yeah.
experiment with some really different cultural aspects. So I think there's a lot of from the perspective of what kind of pain point or like what problem do you solve, but that really poses an interesting thing because yes, any business coach will tell you like you need to solve a problem. And I
Hmm.
actually struggled with that a little bit when I started my business because I do podcast production and strategic consultation. And I guess like the production side, the obvious problem that I solve is like, if you don't know how or you don't have time to do your own podcast, we'll do it for you. But that
Mhm.
hardly feels like solving the world's problems. You know what I mean? Like the things that I feel like when you're in a coaching program, there's people that are like, "Oh, I want to solve the problem of like women feel
Yeah.
insecure about their bodies and I'm going to solve that problem," or like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I have women aren't confident in speaking, so I'm going to solve that problem." Like those all
Mhm.
feel like kind of solving the problems of the world, and I'm like, if you want to start a
Mhm.
podcast, I can help you. Like that doesn't really feel like. So I think there's something to be said for, yes, that's true, but there's so
Mhm.
many products out there. Like it's not just about solving problems. I mean, jewelry brands aren't solving problems,
Mm.
right? Any like luxury anything is not solving a problem. And not that you're trying to start a luxury brand, but my point is there are other ways to create
Mhm.
something that's monetizable. So,
Mhm.
I don't know what's coming up for you and all of that. I'm just like
No, that's definitely help because that's really true that because as a entrepreneurs and we always think of like what problem we want to to solve, but it's like, oh, and halfway or we started doing that and I say, oh, I'm not solving any problem right now. I'm going to give up. So I that definitely in my head. I say, oh, my blog is not authentic enough. Oh, there's a tons, millions of bloggers out there writing about parenting. I'm not good enough, right? Not good enough is killing me. So,
yeah, it'll
uh,
get all of us. I think that's so relatable. And I think we all
mhm,
have those feelings. And it's funny, DM, because I have some pretty incredible credentials. Like I know that I am and I know that this is true about you too. I know I'm very well educated. I'm very good at what I do. I know what results I've gotten both in my corporate job and then also in my podcasting business. When I'm feeling confident or when I'm looking at the numbers, I know I'm one of the top podcast producers and strategic consultants in the world. I know that this is true. And when I we're recording this right after I just went to Podfest in Florida, which is a podcasting conference. It is geared more toward indie podcasters. So most of the people there were podcasters, not necessarily podcast producers. But of
mhm,
course, a lot of the speakers and some of the attendees also have podcast production businesses. And when I listen to them talk, especially if they're on stage and I'm not, and I'm listening to their credentials, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm an imposter. Like my are my clients, am I doing them a disservice? Are they getting enough? Like are they getting
mhm,
enough value from me? Would they be better off working with somebody else? Like how do I learn enough and do a better job so
mhm,
that it's worth them working with me, which is ridiculous. Not only have we helped people create like globally ranked shows, but they have gotten book deals, become best-selling authors, gotten international speaking gigs, all kinds of built their businesses, like all kinds of really big milestones that they've achieved because we help them leverage their podcast. I know we're good at what we do.
mhm,
And I still like that it's never good enough. Like I'm always questioning. And I think it sounds like you, before you started pursuing entrepreneurship, that you have been a really hard worker, high achieving person. Me too. And I think that's true for so many of us who choose to pursue entrepreneurship. And it's weird because there's no one to pat you on the head and tell you you're doing a good job. Like you have to do that yourself.
mhm. Right? This agree. I really think that being the entrepreneur, we have to own our own shit, right? We we don't have anyone. We don't have the performance review, and which I hate. I got a good ones from my boss. Right now, I'm think back. I say, oh my God, the corporate just it's just so fake. I will have go to the meeting and I go to the I'm here for our teams. I was doing that for everyone else, but not me. I'm just like it's just BS. Now I'm doing it like I own I own my own blog and I own my own stuff. I really want what is good. I want what I want to serve people and I really now I'm thinking back and I say that I don't know. I don't want to talk back about corporate because I end up having getting a job or something, and I don't want people to. It just exhausting. Finding a
Yeah.
corporate job.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Finding
love.
the job is exhausting. Interviewing is exhausting.
Uh,
Being there is exhausting. I say all the time that when entrepreneurs or when coaches like say
mm,
entrepreneurship is so hard, which it's not easy. I'm not
it's
saying that
not.
entrepreneurship is easy, but when they say, "Oh, it's so hard, it's so hard. If you want to take the easy way, go get a 9 to 5." I'm like, "You haven't had a 9 to 5 in a while because a corporate job is so hard." I've
Yeah.
said this before, but I'll say it again now. I feel like having a corporate job meant for me spending most of my waking hours doing work I didn't care about with people I didn't like. And then I came home, and the people who mattered the most and the things that mattered the most, I had nothing left to give them because I was
Mm,
so drained from my
right.
corporate job. So you do that, you come home, you do whatever chores you have to do, you make dinner, and then you put on the TV and you zone out to try to
Yeah.
just
Right.
like cope before you
Mm,
have to go to bed. And then you wake up and do it all again the next day. Like that is so much harder. That is
mm,
so much harder. The joy and the way that you light up when you talk about what you want to write about on your blog and where you want it to go and what you want to do with it. The possibilities are just open and endless and exciting and fun, and it's true
mm,
to who you are, and it's
right.
what you're things that you're really really good at and that you know a lot about because it's you. It's just your
Yeah.
experience, right?
No.
And
That's.
I love my business and I it's one of my favorite things I've ever done in my whole life. And I'm so so glad that I did it. And I think
Mhm,
you can't bottle that up and take that back to corporate. Like there
mhm.
it just doesn't exist there. Even if it's a job you're like, my job's pretty good. I like my job. My company is a really good company. It
Yeah.
does not feel like that.
Right. No, like really like owning a blog right now, that just like really when I write, when I typing, I didn't write one things about me that I didn't writing because come up in like English was my second language and I didn't like writing at all. I sucked at writing and I only got a C or D at ESU in my college life. So now but like I one thing that you know, if it back to 2024, one thing that I mostly enjoyed is writing. So in one sitting, I can write like easy 1,000 words. Like in one sitting, I don't care like how many hours I have to spend, but in one sitting, I just writing, let everything out from my head to my heart, to my toes. I let everything out, and in like easy 1,000 words, and then probably takes me like 2, 3 hours. And I say, that's unbelievable. It's something that I couldn't do that like my previous life.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. One thing that you mentioned a lot in this discussion, and so I want to ask about this, is your Vietnamese identity. And so I'm curious from a cultural perspective and also like your upbringing, the way your parents raised you, like how does that influence the idea of leaving corporate and like starting a blog? Because mentally, like in the story I'm telling myself is that starting a parenting blog to like share
Mhm.
recipes and like talk about your stories parenting feels like a very American thing to do. Like, oh, I'm going to do this instead of like getting a
Yeah.
job. But I also know that a lot of other cultures have different perspectives about A, storytelling and like sharing your story, and then B, about entrepreneurship. So I'm curious, like, what was that like? What would your parents think, or what do they think
I
about
love that.
this? Like, yeah.
I love that question, Sarah, because I have so much. I think I can talk to you for 3, 4 hours. So, yes, my parents still don't know that I'm a blogger now because they had no idea what blogging is about. Yeah, so my parents always they always proud of me that I always achieved the highest in my class. And then when we moved from Vietnam to America, I went straight to school didn't take any ESL class, went straight to school and finished my two bachelor degrees in computer information system and data analytics within 3 years. After that, I got my master in information system management at ASU's. So in my parents' eyes, I'm the best, right? I got the highest paid job within my siblings. And when I got laid off, and also my parents also were like, oh, they are not technical people, and they just say get a job, getting almost close to six-figure job. It's a dream. It's a dream to them. And then when I got laid off, I didn't let them know for the first 7 months. So only my husband and his parents know that I got laid off. My parents, I hid it from them until so my mom asked me to go back to Vietnam with her for surgery that she wanted to get. She was having some issues, and then she begging me for 4 years and like, can you go with me? She didn't trust any of my siblings to go with her because of like I know how to do things. And this year, 2024, and she asked me, I say, okay, let's go. And she's like, what? Like she said, no, I say, let's go. And I say, and my mom thought that was going to take PTO to take her. And I say, no, let's go for a month. And she say, a month? You can take PTO for a month? And she, still didn't have any idea. I say, and then at that point, I say, I got laid off. And like she was shocked. She was shocked. And then I spent a month with my children and my mom in Vietnam, and she got her surgery done, everything. I came back, but every single day I hated it. And she said, "Did you find a job? Did you find a job? Like, did you? Did you interview?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, I don't know. It was so hard for me to listen to hear those questions because I that you don't need another question to ask. Did you get a job? Did you?" And then I feel like, Mom, I'm feel like I cannot tell her that I'm taking my time because that's to my parents. What does it mean taking time? And I still don't. I haven't told them about I'm doing blogging and doing website because they had no ideas because they're still asking me like occasionally said, will you find a job? Are you interviewing for any job yet? I said, no, mom. I'm still like, I'm just keep it short and sweet. I said, nope, nope. And then, and moved on, right? So, yeah, my parents is still in their understanding, finding having a corporate job is the easiest to make money. So I'm still at this point, I just want to focus on myself and my own family. Either as long as my husband and my children are happy and he knows that what I'm doing, I don't care. I don't care. My parents will ask me about jobs interviews and such, but I just say no and then move on. I'm not gonna say that I don't care, but like really technically, basically, I don't care about my parents. Know it on not knowing about blogging or like website or entrepreneur because to them it's just so hard. So few few months ago, my husband and I had the business presented to us that we could own a business, and it was so hard for us to say yes to that business venture. But after talking through it, let's do this. And then we we finally agree. And then we finally say like, yes, we can do it. Or we want to take on this business ventures. And then we work through it. We worked to getting that business and they sold it to somebody else. It was once again. It destroyed my dream. It destroyed my self-esteem, right? I have a blog called Dream, Determination, and Detour. If you want to read about that, it was so hard. And then when we had finally say yes to we want to take on this business, and my parents say, don't do it, don't do it, you're gonna fail. I say, it is a hard economy, you're gonna fail. I say, no, mom, just stay away from my business, right? I want to know I know what I want. I can do this. For a few months, I didn't let them know, but finally, like after we say yes to the business owner, I say, I want to take on this one. And I tell my parents that we're moving out of town to buy that business. And my parents say, why you do it? Do not do it anyway. When I told them that no, they sold it to somebody else, like I was almost crying, saying that they've sold it to somebody else because this is joy. And my mom like, yes, yeah, you staying here. Well, because I don't blame them. They don't know and they just hate the idea that owning their own business. A little bit of my parents. Yep.
That is so complicated. And I think, like, culture aside,
Hmm.
that whole idea of telling your parents or any like other stakeholders in your life. I mean, we could do a whole podcast episode about that, like how I felt. I know how I felt telling my mom. I was surprised at how supportive she was, that when I told her that I was going to not get another job, that I was gonna try this. I think she was nervous and she was, I think, skeptical in some ways that I wouldn't wind up just going and getting a job after all. But I really feel like the fact that she didn't shut down my dream is a big part of why I actually believed I could do it in the beginning. And that, yeah, I don't know if I've ever really told her how much her response meant to me, but it really did.
Mm-hmm.
And then meanwhile, my two best friends, I tried to talk to them about it, and it caused such a big dramatic thing. So there were like the group of us is like a group of three really close best friends, and we used to all dream of like being CEOs or whatever for other companies, right? And when I kind of shifted and said, "Oh, I want to open my own company," like I don't want to be part of the corporate world anymore. I don't want a corporate job. I don't know if I really like, I think there's a lot of problems with it. I think there's a lot of things about it that I think are really unethical and I don't agree and I don't want to be part of it and I want to do it differently. And I think entrepreneurship is the answer. They took that personally
Mm-hmm.
because they still dreamed of like having
Climbing up.
corporate success. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started criticizing the corporate world, they took that very personally, understandably. And they were also very worried about me. I remember my friend telling me, my best friend telling me, I was lit up telling her, I think this is what I'm going to do. Like, this is the path I want to do. And she said, this sounds like grief. And I think you need to go to therapy. And I was like, that might I might have grief and I might need therapy, but
Mm-hmm.
no, this is like a good thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was just we both sides, like they were on the same side and I felt like I was by myself, and it caused this like big rift for a little while. We're best friends again, so
Mm-hmm.
we figured out a way through it. And I think like that was pre 2020. And I think 2020 really helped a lot of people see a lot of the problems with
Mm-hmm.
kind of the corporate world. So now there's a lot more language for talking about these things. And they've kind of come around on some of the stuff I was trying to say. And also, they've seen that entrepreneurship has been a really good fit for me. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's also easier to support that when you see it's
Yeah.
working. Like your parents will have an easier time supporting the idea of you doing a blog when your blog is thriving and making money and you have tens of thousands of readers. Like it'd be a lot easier for them to be like, wow, way to go.
Right. Yeah.
The dream is hard for other people to see. So, yeah, anyways,
Right.
I think like that is that is a complicated part of
Hmm.
leaving the corporate world and starting a business is like telling people and getting their reactions.
Yeah. I'm a little bit weird that if my parents, I'm always against my parents. I love them, but I don't know. Whatever they tell me that I can't do it, I want to do it so bad. Like I want to show them that I can do shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a baby girl anymore, even though they don't treat me as a baby girl, but for them it's just stay in a safe spot, find a job, stick it from 9 to 5 and take care of your husband and your children. But whatever they tell me that no, don't do it. Just want to do it and I want to show them that I can do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it sounds like
Yeah,
you have shown them again and again, and that's part of
yeah,
why they believe in you so much and why your mom wanted you to go with her
yeah.
and be there with her. And so I think it sounds like even though you've kind of been a little bit of an antagonist, like, no, I'm gonna be a rebel, I'm gonna prove you wrong. It sounds like they do see it like again and again. That's really beautiful.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Diem, I like to end all of these conversations with the same question, which is this can be work related, but it doesn't have to be. What is something that is making you happy right now?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So definitely the blogging, writing that really make me happy. And I'm really grateful that I have my husband always by my side and his parents, his parents always by my side. They really supportive. So for the time being, I'm continuing to improve my blog because that definitely keep me really busy, productive. I love doing this hard work. I don't mind getting up early or stay up at late at night, but doing something that truly means to me, that's beautiful, and that make me happy. See some the new posts on my blog, it make me happy. Um, and just being with my friends, get to know new people, get to know you, yeah, we will become friends. And I need to see the positive side of going through this. War already passed, so do believe that 2025 will lead me up in a positive way, and I will create the positive way for myself and my family.
Yeah, I believe that too. I love that.
Mm,
Okay, so one thing that's making me happy right now, I'm gonna
mm,
just piggyback off. I mentioned Podfest earlier. So
mhm,
we're recording this at the end of January, and I just got back from my first like big conference of the year, and it was Podfest. It was in Orlando, Florida. So if you didn't know, I'm in Arizona, and so that
mhm,
is a cross the country flight. So it
mhm,
was a big trip. And it was very exhausting, and big time difference, very exhausting because not a big time difference. Actually, right now it's only 2 hours. That's not that bad. But so big airport day, then 3 full days of conference, and then a big airport day coming back.
mhm,
So it's
yeah,
exhausting. I am sick, but I had the best time. Like, I really, really had the best time. My teammate, Katie, she's one of the account managers on the PodFox team. She got to go with me because she lives on the East Coast. So it was really easy for her. And actually her family lives in Florida. So she just
okay,
went to visit them and then drove straight to the Airbnb with me. But
yeah,
we got to go together, spend some time together in person, which
mhm,
was really nice. And I just really loved the conference. I
mhm,
loved meeting people. I loved learning a whole lot of stuff. And I love a good conference. I love the education sessions. I
yeah,
love like people talk a lot of shit about that, about like going and sitting in like a hotel conference room and taking notes. But
yeah,
I love it. I really
yeah,
do. So I had a really good time. Great speakers, great environment. Almost 2,000 podcasters in attendance. Like it
wow,
was a lot. Yeah, it was fun. So yeah, that's definitely. I'm still coming off the high of that one. By the time this comes out, I mean, I wonder if that will have kind of worn off a little, but hopefully there'll be another event between now and then, and I'll be riding high off that one. But anyways,
yeah, that's a really good start for 2025. Do
it
you have
is.
any upcoming plan?
Yeah, I have quite a few conferences I'm going to this year. Hopefully a few like that a few more that I'm speaking at. So I spoke twice in Q4 of 2024. I really want to do a lot more speaking. I have had past jobs where I spoke a lot on stages, all kinds of
Mhm.
crowd sizes. I love public speaking. So really hoping to be doing more speaking in 2025. So we'll see. But I also just want to attend things. I don't have to go only if I'm speaking. I want to be able to go and participate and like really
Yeah,
immerse myself in the experience. So yeah, I'm trying to go to as
yeah.
many as I can. Every time I go to one, I'm like, I love this so much. I want to
Mhm.
go all the time. I wish this was my whole job. But so my goal is to get to the point, and I don't think it'll happen quite this often in 2025, but
Mhm.
my goal is to get to the point where I go to a conference once a month.
Yeah.
And I mean, Novel helps a lot with that because we have like a monthly lunch and learn, and that kind of feels like a conference, even though it's not all day. It's just a 2 hour thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a couple of like bigger conferences, and it would sure help if I could find more locally. So I definitely am interested if you know of any, if you're listening to this and you know of conferences in
Yep.
Arizona or California or even Vegas is like a popular conference spot. That's pretty easy to get
Mhm.
to. New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, like anything in like the Southwest, please.
Yep.
Because it seems like everything is either in Dallas, which is not that bad, or in on the
Mhm.
East Coast. Everything's on the East Coast.
Yeah. So I will let you know for sure. And I know there's a marketing conference in Las Vegas like in February. I don't know, but I really want to attend some to learn, like just like you like attend it and then turn on the learning mode, right? To see what is out other
Yeah.
people in the world doing. So I
Yeah.
think that's the best way to learn from the practical world, not on paper or
Yeah,
yeah,
I
right.
think you got to get to a blogging conference. Look
Mm,
up and see if you can find a blogging
okay.
conference or a few because I think that would really just light you up and not only
Hmm.
would you get to connect with other bloggers, but also the opportunities for making money I think would really feel a lot more exciting and
Hmm.
possible if you were seeing what other people are doing. So that's my biggest recommendation for you. And if
Okay.
you find one in Arizona, let me know if I can go. I'll go with you.
Yes, yes. Same. I want to go to a conference with you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I loved this. I feel like we really got to know each other
Yeah.
during this
Yes.
conversation. It was really fun and I just appreciate, of course, your honesty, your vulnerability and all of that and wishing you the best of luck. You're going to have to come back on the podcast next year and say, "All right, now here's where I am a year later. Like this is what we've done." So, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. This is really fun, and I love the idea. Like a year from today, and then we'll listen to the podcast, and then we'll see what we'll stay on that, right? So
Yeah.
just kind of doing podcast blogging, you just like journal everything for
Yeah.
yeah. No, I love that. Oh, thank you so much for a great time. I love getting to know you, and you are awesome.
Oh, back at
And
you.